Security, escort this man out. Now. Smith Wilfred stood frozen, blood dripping from the scratches on his forearm. Behind him, an 8-year-old boy rocked violently on the airport floor. Hands clamped over his ears, shrieking. And in front of him, Stephanie Robert, her white blouse stained, her perfectly composed mask shattered, stared at Smith like he'd just torn her entire world in half. Welcome back, family. Please click the subscribe button to help us build this community because your time and patience really matters to me. So let's begin. Wait, she choked out. You can't fire him. The supervisor sneered. Ma'am, this man assaulted your son. He saved my son's life. The terminal went silent, but fired. For stopping a child from falling. For seeing danger when everyone else looked away. What Smith didn't know, what nobody at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport knew, was that the woman standing in front of him wasn't just any mother. And what he'd just uncovered would destroy everything she thought she knew about her own son. You ever hear a story that makes you believe in people again? This is one of those. It happened at Gate 27 in Ronald Reagan Airport on a rainy March evening. Smith Wilfred, 11-year airport veteran, ex-Marine, guy who just wanted to finish his shift and go home, saw something that made him move without thinking. Boy, maybe 8 years old, nonverbal, autistic, walking straight toward danger while his mother talked on her phone 30 feet away. Smith didn't know the boy, didn't know the mother, didn't know that what he was about to do would cost him everything. But he moved anyway. And that's where this story really begins. Smith had worked at DCA for 11 years. He'd seen everything. Tearful reunions, ugly breakups, missed flights, lost luggage, travelers at their absolute worst and their unexpected best. He knew how to read people. He knew when someone was about to snap, about to cry, about to do something they'd regret. And when he saw James Robert sitting cross-legged on the floor near the charging station, rocking back and forth, hands flapping in that distinctive pattern, Smith knew. That boy was about to run. What Smith didn't see, what he couldn't have seen, was the woman 30 feet away, pacing near Gate 27 with her phone pressed to her ear, too consumed by her own crisis to notice her son's. Her name was Stephanie Robert, and she was about to learn the hardest lesson of her life. James Robert was 8 years old, nonverbal, autistic, beautiful in the way broken things are when you actually stop to look at them. His mother, Stephanie Robert, CEO of Robert Ventures, stood 30 feet away, pacing, phone glued to her ear. I don't care if the board's nervous, Alan. Execute the buyout. I want it done by Friday. She didn't see her son stand. She didn't see him start walking toward the escalator. But Smith did. Hey, buddy, wait up. Smith moved fast, weaving through passengers, his bad knee screaming in protest. James was small, but he was fast. And he wasn't stopping. The boy reached the escalator. Smith's heart slammed into his throat. James! The kid's foot hovered over the moving stairs. One more step and he'd tumble forward, crack his skull on metal teeth grinding at 15 miles per hour. Smith lunged. He grabbed James around the waist and yanked him backward. They hit the ground hard, Smith's shoulder cracking against tile, James thrashing in his arms, shrieking, "It's okay, buddy, I got you." But James was panicking, clawing. His elbow smashed into Smith's jaw, drawing blood. Now if you've ever seen someone you love slip toward danger and felt that cold punch of fear, the kind that makes your body move before your brain catches up, then you know what Smith felt in that moment. You know that split-second choice between safety and consequence. If you've ever put someone else first, even when it cost you everything. Stay close, because what happens next is going to break your heart wide open. And maybe that's exactly what needs to happen. Crowd formed. Phones came out. Voices shouted. That man just attacked a kid. And then she appeared. Stephanie Robert shoved through the crowd, her face white with terror. Get away from my son. Smith released James immediately, hands up, breath ragged. Ma'am, I'm sorry, he was about to fall. Stephanie dropped to her knees, pulling James into her arms. The boy was still shrieking, rocking violently, hands clamped over his ears. "What did you do to him?" Her voice cracked like glass. "Nothing, I swear. He was running toward the escalator and I just..." "He's terrified." A TSA agent appeared, hand on his radio. "Sir, step back. Now." "I work here," Smith said quickly, fumbling for his badge. "Airport staff." The boy was in danger. "He grabbed my son." Stephanie's voice broke. "He hurt him." Smith's supervisor arrived. Bill, a man who'd hated Smith since day one. His face twisted in vindictive satisfaction. "Wilfred, what the hell did you do?" "I stopped the kid from falling." "You put your hands on a passenger's child without authorization." "He was in danger." "I don't care if he was on fire. You violated protocol." Bill turned to Stephanie with exaggerated sympathy. "Ma'am, I am deeply sorry. This employee will be terminated immediately. Security will remove him from the premises." Stephanie looked at Smith, at his torn vest, at the blood streaking his arm where James had scratched him, at his eyes pleading for her to understand. And for the first time in 10 years, Stephanie Robert didn't know what to believe. Security grabbed Smith's arms. But as they dragged him away, he saw something that made his blood run cold. James's shirt had ridden up during the struggle. And there on the boy's back, bruises. Old ones. Finger-shaped. "Ma'am," Smith called out desperately. "When's the last time you actually looked at your son?" Stephanie froze. Asterisk, what did you just say? Asterisk. Smith stopped fighting the guards. Asterisk, check his back. Please. Asterisk. Stephanie's hands trembled as she lifted James's shirt. For bruises. Faded yellow-green. Finger-shaped. Adult-sized. Her entire world tilted. James, baby who? But James didn't answer. He never answered. He just rocked and hummed and stared at the ceiling lights like they held all the answers she'd been too blind to see. Ma'am, Smith said quietly, asterisk. I've been watching your son for 15 minutes. He flinches every time someone walks past him. That's not just autism. That's fear. Asterisk. Stephanie's throat closed. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and opened the nanny cam app, the one she'd installed months ago but rarely checked because she trusted her staff. He scrolled back. 2 days, 5 days, a week, and then she saw it. Diane, her nanny, the woman she'd hired, the woman she'd paid to care for James, grabbing his arm roughly when he wouldn't sit still, shoving him into a chair, yanking his wrist when he didn't respond fast enough. Stephanie's knees buckled. Asterisk. Oh my God. Asterisk. The phone slipped from her hand and clattered on the tile. Smith stepped forward. The guards had released him now, unsure. Asterisk, ma'am. Asterisk. I didn't know, Stephanie whispered. Asterisk, she said he was difficult. She said he needed discipline. I thought. Asterisk. Asterisk, she was abusing him. Asterisk. Stephanie looked at James. Really looked at him for the first time in months. And she realized with gut-wrenching clarity. He tried to run because he didn't want to go home. He wasn't having a meltdown. He was trying to asterisk escape. Stephanie stood slowly. Her legs felt like water, but her voice, when it came, was steel. She turned to Bill, Smith's supervisor. Asterisk. This man just saved my son from serious injury. And you fired him for it. Asterisk. Bill shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, company protocol clearly states. Asterisk. I don't care about your protocol. Asterisk, her voice was cold, lethal. Asterisk. He saw danger and he acted. While I... Asterisk, her voice cracked. Asterisk. While I was on the phone closing deals, ignoring my son, letting a woman abuse him every single day. Asterisk. She looked at Smith. Really looked at him. Saw the exhaustion in his eyes. The decency. Asterisk. What's your name? Asterisk. Asterisk. Smith Wilfred, ma'am. Asterisk. Asterisk. Mr. Wilfred. I owe you an apology. And a debt I can never repay. Asterisk. Smith shook his head. Asterisk. You don't owe me anything. I couldn't let him fall. Asterisk. Asterisk. You saw what I didn't. Asterisk. Tears streamed down her face. Asterisk. You protected him when I wasn't paying attention. Asterisk. She turned back to Bill. Asterisk. You're fired. Effective immediately. And if you try to contest it, I'll make sure every airport in this country knows you punished a man for saving a child's life. Asterisk. Bill's face went white. Stephanie looked at the TSA agents. Asterisk. This man is not being removed. He's coming with me. Asterisk. If you've ever been so caught up in your own world that you missed what mattered most, if you've ever realized too late that the people you love were hurting right in front of you, then you understand what Stephanie felt in that moment. That crushing weight of guilt. That desperate need to make it right. If you've ever had to face the worst version of yourself and choose to be better, then maybe you know why this moment matters. Stay with us, because what comes next isn't just about saving a job. It's about saving a family. Smith stared at her, confused. Ma'am, I don't understand. Stephanie knelt in front of James again, her voice breaking. Asterisk. Mr. Wilfred, I need to ask you something. And I need you to say yes. Work for me, Stephanie said. Smith blinked. Asterisk. What? Asterisk. Asterisk. You saw my son. You protected him when I wasn't looking. You recognized abuse I was too blind to see. Asterisk. She wiped her face. Asterisk. I don't know what you were making here, but I'll triple it. I need someone who actually sees James. Someone who understands what he needs. Asterisk. Ma'am, I'm not a therapist or a special ed teacher. Asterisk. You stopped him from getting hurt. That's more than I did. Asterisk. Her voice cracked. Asterisk. Please. Help me be a better mother. Asterisk. Smith looked down at James. The boy had stopped shrieking. He was rocking now, softer. His gaze locked on Smith's beat-up work boots. And then, slowly, tentatively, James reached out. His small hand wrapped around Smith's finger. Smith's throat tightened. James didn't make eye contact, didn't speak, but he held on. Okay, Smith said quietly. Asterisk. I'll help. Asterisk. Stephanie exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Thank you, she whispered. That night, Diane was arrested. The bruises were documented. Charges filed. Stephanie sat in her penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac, designer furniture, everything perfect and cold, and sobbed into her hands. Because she'd built an empire. And she'd failed the one person who mattered most. The next morning, Smith Wilfred showed up at her door in a worn flannel shirt and jeans, a duffel bag over his shoulder. Asterisk. Where do we start? Asterisk. And Stephanie realized. She had absolutely no idea. Smith became James's full-time support aide. He learned the boy's rhythms, the way James needed 15 minutes of warning before transitions, the way loud noises sent him into meltdowns, the way he'd hum the same 3 notes over and over when he felt safe. And he taught Stephanie. Stop trying to make him look at you, Smith said one afternoon when Stephanie was frustrated that James wouldn't meet her eyes. Asterisk. Eye contact is painful for a lot of autistic people. He's listening. He just shows it differently. Asterisk. Asterisk. But how do I know he hears me? Asterisk. Asterisk. Watch his hands. When you talk, his stimming changes. He's processing. He's just doing it his way. Asterisk. Stephanie started paying attention. Really paying attention. She noticed that James lined up his toy cars not because he was obsessive, but because patterns helped him feel in control. She noticed that he didn't ignore her. He just needed time to process language before responding. She noticed that when she stopped forcing him to perform normalcy and started accommodating his needs, he relaxed. One evening, 3 weeks into Smith's employment, Stephanie sat on the floor beside James while he arranged blocks. She didn't talk, didn't push, just sat. And James, slowly, carefully, handed her a block. Stephanie's eyes filled with tears. It was the first time her son had voluntarily shared something with her in over a year. He's trying to connect with you, Smith said softly from the doorway. Asterisk, he always has been. You just weren't speaking the same language. Asterisk. Stephanie looked up at Smith, and for the first time, she saw him not as an employee, but as the man who'd given her son back to her. Months passed. Stephanie restructured her entire life. Fewer meetings, flexible schedule. She started working from home 3 days a week. She learned James's triggers and his comforts. She stopped seeing his autism as something to fix and started seeing it as something to understand. And she learned about Smith. He'd been a Marine, served 2 tours, came home to find his younger sister's son. His nephew had been diagnosed with autism. Smith had helped raise that boy while working at the airport, learning everything he could about sensory processing and neurodivergence. Asterisk. Why didn't you ever pursue it professionally? Asterisk. Stephanie asked one evening. Smith shrugged. Asterisk. Didn't have the degree. Didn't have the money for school. So I just did what I could. Asterisk. You're doing more than most professionals ever could, Stephanie said quietly. Their eyes met, and something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't sudden. But Stephanie started noticing the way Smith's face softened when James made progress. The way he celebrated small victories. James tolerating a new food. James letting someone new into his space. The way Smith saw her son as a whole person, not a diagnosis. And Smith started noticing Stephanie's transformation. The way she'd traded her designer suits for comfortable clothes so James wouldn't be bothered by stiff fabrics. The way she'd learned to communicate in James's language. The way she'd become the mother James needed. One night, after James was asleep, Stephanie found Smith sitting on the balcony. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice shaking. Asterisk, and I don't know if I should. Asterisk. I'm in love with you, Stephanie said. Smith turned, eyes wide. Asterisk. I know it's complicated. I know you work for me. I know. Asterisk. I'm in love with you too, Smith said quietly. Stephanie's breath caught. But James comes first, Smith continued. Asterisk. Always. If we do this, his stability, his needs, they're the priority. Asterisk. Agreed, Stephanie whispered. They moved slowly, carefully, always with James at the center. And 6 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, something miraculous happened. James was sitting on the floor, playing with his blocks. Smith sat nearby, reading. And James looked up. He met Smith's eyes, just for a second, and he spoke. Asterisk. Thank you. Asterisk. 2 words. The first words he'd spoken in 3 years. Smith's eyes filled with tears. Asterisk. You're welcome, buddy. Asterisk. Stephanie, standing in the doorway, collapsed against the wall and wept. If this story reached you, if you felt that ache, that knowing, that understanding that sometimes the people who save us aren't the ones we expect, then maybe you're carrying a truth too. Maybe you've been Smith, doing the right thing when it cost you everything. Maybe you've been Stephanie, realizing too late that you missed what mattered most. Or maybe you've been James, just trying to be seen. If any of that resonates, if you believe stories like this need to be told, then carry this forward. Share it. Because the world needs more people who stop when everyone else walks past. 2 years later, Smith Wilfred and Stephanie Roberts stood in a small ceremony surrounded by close friends. James served as ring bearer, wearing noise-canceling headphones decorated to match his suit. In his toast, Smith said, Asterisk, I got fired for catching a boy who was running. Turns out he wasn't running away from something. He was running toward the life he deserved. Asterisk. And Stephanie added, Asterisk, I spent years building an empire. But the day I lost everything that didn't matter was the day I found everything that did. Asterisk. James, now 10 and occasionally verbal, looked up at them both and smiled. Family, he said softly. And it was